Hi everyone, this video isn't quite a project video, but the people at Seicane Car Audio contacted me and asked me if I would like to review one of their head units. So they sent me a doubled in Android based head unit and I'm going to fit it to my Daihatsu Avanzato. So let's have a dig into it and see what we think.
Right, here's what we receive from Seicane in China. Looks fairly well packaged up, fairly well boxed. So let's see what we've got inside. Okay, so that's good, that's good. We've got an outer box protecting the inner box. You can see, although it's had a couple of knocks there, it appears to have been fairly well protected. So, what is inside? Okay, decent looking manual, no need to go to just look on a CD or look online for that. Warranty card. And an information card for contacting them by the looks of it, with a little hello message on it, which means in here must all be the hardware itself. Again, got some good foam packaging there, keeping everything protected. Oh, got the giblets, a big bag of various connections. That's a standard ISO adapter I can see in there, along with multiple RCA connectors and so on. And it appears they include a couple of fitment brackets. That's good. A lot of radios don't include those, so it's nice that they've actually had the forethought to include the brackets for mounting it to the car itself. And in here, this must be the head unit. Yes, there we go. Obviously, there's not that much to see while it's still in its packaging. Okay, so that's a fairly nice, sleek unit. A nice, simple interface there. Standard doubled-in fitments, lots of fitment options there to. So you can mount the brackets, you can mount the brackets forward and backwards and up and down slightly depending on what you've got or what brackets you've got. I will probably use the standard brackets they've included in my package with me. See, standard thing. That looks to me like an aerial for the Wi-Fi. A couple of USB ports, a GPS antenna socket, standard radio socket, and then various adapters which will no doubt be for all the multi-plugs that are in here. Aha, and an actual wiring diagram. Now that's nice. I really don't like it if I pick something up and you just got to go and dig around in a manual to try and find what you're looking for. So yep, okay, and we appear to have one thing I say, oh, it's a duplicate warranty card. We already got one of those. So let's have a look at what's in our bag of accessories. So yes, 2 steel mounting brackets with many fitment options on them. That's brilliant. And we've got some small screws. That looks like M5 to me. Small screws for mounting that onto the actual radio. A USB adapter and a microphone socket. These both plug into one miniature multi-plug on the end there. Another small multi-plug, this one including all the adapters for the various RCAs, so I can see We have rear out, front out. There's a sub out there, so yes, that's all your audio RCAs. We also have video input, video output. That'll be for rear seatback monitors if you have them. Aux video in, power to switch on a reversing camera, and I believe that's an amp switch on lead. Rear camera in, so that'll be for a reversing camera. Okay, that's all together in one neat package. It's interesting that the video connections are on the same as the amplifier connections. So standard adapter from a multi-plug to an ISO plug. So that's power and audio for running through the speaker system. At the moment I'm just running speakers, I'm not running any amplifiers or anything. So all my signal will go through that. And the various other connections. There's a brake thing now, that's interesting. A lot of the connections for things which have video on them, and because this is video capable, that's to go to your handbrake so that you can't turn the video on unless you've got the handbrake on and the car's stopped. Normally you can switch these on and off if you want. If you do want to be naughty and run video while you're driving, which I wouldn't recommend, it's a pretty stupid idea. We have an adapter. We have a couple of USB extensions, so those two USB leads on the back can be extended out and you can put them in your glove box or something like that. And here is the GPS receiver, so to make sure you've got a GPS signal in the car as well. Alright then, well that certainly looks like pretty much everything you'd need. So this, coupled with the wiring diagram on the head unit itself, should make for a fairly simple installation.
First thing to go into the car is the GPS sensor, which, to make sure it's in a good position, I attached to the back of the rear view mirror with some normal sticky pads. Next up is an additional component I've bought, a USB dash cam to integrate with the head unit. Unlike standalone dash cams that you normally get, this doesn't contain any recording capability or storage media, and instead it just plugs into the head unit and the head unit can record things onto a USB stick for you. The camera is attached up behind the rearview mirror to give it a good forward view while not being in the way of the driver's eye line, and then I needed to remove the A-pillar trim and the passenger side sun visor in order to be able to safely tuck the cable runs out of the way down to the dashboard. On the other side of the car, I also fitted a small microphone for hands-free phone use and ran that cable down the other A-pillar. So, for the fitting of the head unit, the dash is now ready with a standard ISO block, the factory aerial lead, a 3.5mm jack for the microphone, a USB plug for the dashcam, and a coax cable for the GPS sensor. I do, however, need to supplement the ISO adapter by plugging the dash lighting cable in directly, as it isn't actually on a pin in the block itself. While a little crude, a simple tapping connector like this is fine for this purpose, so that can be clamped down and then the adapter plugs in to give the correct connection for the head unit itself.
Now, although the radio comes with these brackets, which are actually quite good quality, they've got plenty of adjustment on them, unfortunately the Daihatsu has quite a narrow moulding here, so it won't actually fit the bracket in here. If I try and put this bracket in, get the radio in, it hits this bottom corner. So instead, what I've done is I've made my own brackets. These are 3D printed to mount onto the radio, and these have a lower profile, so they will fit in and clear this corner. So this is not a problem with the radio at all. These brackets are going to be great for almost every car, but it's just this dash moulding where it's got a narrow fitting at the bottom. And I could trim these. I could trim these down to make them fit, but I'd rather just have something that goes in here, and keep these ones in case I want to fit the radio to something else instead. Okay, so let's see if we can get these brackets onto the head unit, and well, we'll see how well it fits in the dash.
The brackets I made get attached to the body of the head unit using the screws it came with to the left side and the right side, giving me the necessary attachment points to the body of the dashboard.
Now, the dashboard, it's got the trim piece which goes around the radio, and obviously I want to have that so it fits in neatly around the head unit. So to adjust how far out that goes, I've got some spacers that I've made, and I can use these spacers to shift that ever so slightly forwards and backwards to get it positioned correctly in the dashboard. So I think I probably need about, I'd say about 4mm to get it exactly right, and we'll see. Here we go. So we got radio lead, we've got the multi-plug which gives you the microphone and one of the USBs which I'm using for the video camera. Then we've got the main power block, and then we've got the GPS. So that's everything, but what I've also got, they include some extensions here in order to get these USB ports on the back. So I'm going to use these extensions, and that way I can run the USB port into my glove box. There we go, so I can now have the extensions running out behind the glove box if I want them to. So I'll neaten all this cable up once I'm sure it's going to go together neatly. But let's get it in and get it, see what it's like.
With all the wiring safely stashed away and the head unit slotted into the dash, it can be screwed to secure it into place, and all that's left to do is replace the fascia panel trim around it. While this shows that I got the head unit flush with the front as I wanted, there is a slight gap around the edge where the design allows clearance for different kind of head units, so I 3D printed a filler piece to neaten this up a little.
Right, so with the head unit all installed on the dashboard, ready to go, if we turn the ignition on, there we go. Now the first thing I noticed, that is a much faster startup than the similar head units I've used. The first time you turn it on, because it has to power up, it does take a bit longer. It took about 30 seconds when it was first powered on, but this time, no. Turn the ignition on, it's straight up. And what do we have? Well, the primary thing is obviously you got your radio, yeah, which will keep playing if you come off the thing, unless you turn it off. And you've got MP3 music, and again, if you wanted to, that'll keep playing when you come back onto the home page. And you've got your main menu for your settings, such as your GPS, your audio settings, and things like if you want to set up the different EQ levels. So at the moment it's just on a flat, and it's obviously got the presets, or you can just mess around with these to your heart's content. So, a couple of things I added here. So the first feature is the DVR. Now this goes on the camera that I mounted, and you can see it's just showing the view out the front of the car. And you've got a couple of things you can do here. First of all, in the settings, you can choose how long you want your video clips to be, 5, 10 or 15 minutes. And you can choose where you want it to save the files it records. So I've got them saved to one of the USB keys that I've got plugged in the dashboard. Now, all you do, hit camera, and there you go, and it's recording. So that shows there, and you've got a little thing here saying recording up here. So yeah, that's off and going. All I'll have to do now, if I go back to my home page, it stays recording. I can listen to the radio, listen to music, do other things, and it'll keep recording in 5-minute bursts onto the DVR. So yeah, built-in dash cam, records to USB, brilliant, just what you need. So here we are on the next screen across. Now you can rearrange these screens if you want to, move different apps to different areas. I've got the settings here for steering wheel controls, which this car doesn't have, but that would allow you to program the system to what you want to do. So you can tell it volume up, volume down, it's all in the manual. The manual here tells you how to program it. I mean, that's one thing I'll say, this manual, with the amount of detail in it, this is much better than some of the other radios that I've seen. You know, the amount of detail they put in here and actually giving you images of how things work. It's not complete, there is stuff that is still not quite covered in here, such as the menu system for the DVRs, but that's pretty self-evident. But I've seen some fairly shocking manuals come with these kind of radios, so it's nice to have one that's a bit more detail in it. So, Bluetooth music, at the moment I've not got my phone connected, but if I did have, that's where I go in there, play the music off my phone. So, one of the other features useful here, GPS. You see the typical icon there. So as you can see, the GPS, I've got it set up for Google Maps, although if you want to install a different navigation app you can, and just works exactly as you used to on your phone. All the same controls as normal, and obviously if you put in directions and say that you want directions to somewhere, you'll get the audio directions just as you would on your phone. So yeah, that works exactly how you'd expect. Go back to the front page.
Being Android based, the head unit also allows you to install standard apps you're used to from your phone, and it comes pre-installed with both Netflix and YouTube, both of which are identical to what you're used to on other hardware.
Now, there's a couple of other features on this which I'm not using at the moment but I could do in the future, such as tyre pressure monitoring. So, if you have tyre pressure monitors on your cars, you can set this up to register the pressure and temperature in the tyres, just as you would on a factory system. And especially if you're running a car with run flats, that's going to be pretty handy. So there's one more feature which I really like. It's small, but it's under the car settings and in extra settings, but it tells you what the voltage on the battery is. Now the engine's not running at the moment, so obviously I've got just under 12 volts.
And of course you can just open up the Google Play Store to install any number of other apps you might want to use. So, what's my overall verdict on the head unit? Well, it does a pretty good job of everything you need, and it can be integrated with a multitude of common features, both in terms of audio-video and functionality and features on cars. Now that, with the familiarity and adaptability of an Android system, it makes it pretty easy to get on with. Certainly, if you've got a car which will accept a doubled-in head unit, I'd recommend giving one of these a try. And if you've got a car where the dashboard takes a custom form factor for the radio with its own custom facer integrated into it, have a look at some of the models that Seicane do, which are designed to fit those functions using similar hardware. Thanks for watching, and if you've got one of these head units, please comment below with your experience that you've had with it.